Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode where we are all about helping you grow your YouTube audience, grow your business, reach more people, change their lives, and make money that makes all of that sustainable. And we've got a really good topic here with you guys today, which is where I want to talk about some of the things that I did, 5 things in particular, that I used to earn over $1 million on YouTube. Now, Video Creators as a business itself has generated several $1 million. And I've also started other online businesses that I don't really talk about here as much, but they're out there. One of them actually sold a few years ago. It's the first time I've ever been through building an online business and selling. It was actually, well, maybe I'll tell you more about that story, because I don't think Lennon, Delina, I don't think you guys know that story, do you?
I don't think I've ever heard it.
No, as long as it doesn't pan out like the show Breaking Bad, then I'm cool.
No, it doesn't pan out like that. So what I want to do with you guys is share some of the 5 things I've seen consistently have helped across all these businesses, and I think will help yours as well. Allow me to grow these businesses and ultimately serve people better than before. I think when I first started out, I had a really hard time selling, getting momentum with my online efforts. And it was because I was breaking a lot of these principles, and I was getting frustrated. I was like, hey, I have this thing, I'm trying to sell it. Why is no one buying it? And I wasn't serving people the way that I wanted to. And because of these 5 things and some other things too, but these things really helped me. So I really hope that they're going to help you as you guys are doing your best to grow your online businesses, make more money, reach more people, change their lives. And today we're going to start with changing your life with the business that you're growing around your YouTube audience. If you guys are here in the live stream, welcome to Chickenlandia. Dahlia is here. She is our moderator for today. And so if you have any questions while we go through it, please tag her. And this is, that's a chat from her, but welcome to Chickenlandia, just welcome. And then it'll just start typing. It should auto-complete for you. And she's going to be taking all your questions and putting them in front of the chat for us, because Lennon, Dylan, and I are going to be like, we want to keep delivering really good value and content for you guys. And she's going to get all those questions that you have. So we don't want to miss those questions. We definitely want to we'll take some time to get into them and talk about them and help you guys out as you guys are thinking through this content and this material with us. So thank you, Dahlia, for doing that. If you guys haven't checked her out, I'm pretty sure there's a link to her in the show notes or in the description below this episode, below this live stream. Yes, there is. There's a link to her down there. So you guys can go and check her channel out. She's got a great channel dedicated to helping those of us, including myself, who are chicken owners. I'm a new chicken owner myself. We should be getting some of our first eggs here in a few weeks. So excited about that. This is the hardest I've ever worked for some eggs. So let me tell you that. But the years down the road will pay off for sure. So yeah, go check her channel out for that. Yeah, here's what she says. Check me out if you have chickens or you don't have them yet. That's the key, yet. Yeah. So great to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out, and ask your questions to her, and she'll get them here in front of us, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as we can.
I just broke the news to my husband the other day that I want to get chickens eventually.
How'd that go over?
He was like, what? No, why?
All the cool people are doing it.
Okay, funny story. Whenever I was probably like 14 years old, I actually had a pet miniature rooster, and he pooped all over the house, so we had to get rid of him. But yep, he was mini. He got like this big, and that was it. That was like as big as he got. And
usually roosters are the mean ones.
Yeah, I mean, there were no other chickens around, so I don't know. He was kind of nice to us, I guess. But we found him running around our neighborhood. A bunch of dogs were chasing him, so we saved him and we kept him for several weeks, and we had to get rid of him because we couldn't take care of him properly.
Okay. Well, Dahlia has a couple of those little guys, so cool. Whoops. Oh, thanks for becoming a new member, Jaden. And we've got, let's see here, someone else. Andy says, you normally listen to the podcast. Great to see the live. Yeah, great to have you, Andy. I think you'll find that the podcast recording is way more polished than the live stream, but it's great to have you. And you can then you'd be like, oh, not coming to the live streams anymore. Or you'd be like, the live streams are way more raw and way better. So yeah, cool.
We'll either disappoint you or supersede your expectations.
Yeah. We aim to go low and always over deliver.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see your next segment here. If you're not familiar with Lennon and Delana, let me do that again. If you're not familiar with Lennon and Delana, they're both strategists, YouTube strategists here on my team, working with our clients and consultations and helping people grow their channels through a lot of different programs we do here. And for people who might be new-ish, Delana, why don't you introduce yourself first and just tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll hear from Lennon.
Okay, so I'm Delana. I'm, like Tim said, one of the strategists here on the Video Creators team. I live in Texas with my 2 cats and my husband, and we just bought our first house. Woo-hoo. And thank you. And I just got back from vacation. Today's my first day back, which I spent all week in my house, doing things in my house and relaxing. And it was great.
So it was a staycation.
It was a staycation. That's right. There's only so much you can do in a COVID
when
world.
You have a brand new house new to you house.
Yes.
That's probably like one of the best ways to spend it, because you're just like, you got all these. Was it a vacation, or were you working really hard just without work interruptions?
It was a vacation because I did whatever the heck I felt like doing the entire week. So if I felt like working on my house, I worked on it. If I felt like binging Netflix, I binged Netflix.
Good. So you weren't like
friends.
We weren't staring at that one thing you just knew needed to be done and you just couldn't not do it.
No, I'm really proud of myself. I've been really good about there will always be something that needs to be done. So you just need to compartmentalize. And so I've really had to work at doing that, but I was proud of myself, especially over my vacation. So
nice. Well, welcome back. It's good to have you. Len and I have been holding down the fort without you. And now the fort is a little bit, the analogy broke down real fast. Fuller?
It's a little more stable.
It's a little more stable.
There we go. Thank you. Lennon, introduce yourself to anyone who might not be familiar with you yet.
My name is Lennon, and I love burritos. I have a dog named Tist, like a scientist. I'm trying to think of odd facts about me. I have 2 children that sometimes think that they're dogs.
I always bring that one out.
Yeah,
Lennon's
Tim
so
likes
humble.
to talk about me being a rock star.
You got to tell that story real quick, because I think I keep teasing it. I don't think you've ever told the story.
Well,
He's going to be so humble now. Watch.
I joined a band when I was younger, probably 22 or 23, and I toured with them for about 10 years. And we were very fortunate to tour all over the world. We did 13, 14 different countries. Got to be on Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations and do a bunch of random television shows as far as licensing stuff. I also got to co-write with a Grammy nominee and do some other things. Just a bunch of random. My life is like a melting pot of just trying stuff, and sometimes it works and then sometimes it doesn't. But the times that it's worked, I've just been really, I always say I just feel like it's a blessing. So
well, we're glad to have you. Go from being a rock star to he's the drummer, by the way, and now you're a YouTube star.
That's right.
Look at you, married, got wife, kids, and live in Kansas City. Delana's in Dallas, and I'm in Cincinnati. So look forward to hanging out with you guys.
If you're in Kansas City, cash me outside. Come look me up.
Oh my God. That meme is from 5 years ago or something, isn't it?
And
blast from the past.
We're old.
What
Yep.
are we supposed to be talking about next? Not even paying attention. Oh. Before we dive into our topic about the 5 sales tactics that I use to earn over $1 million on YouTube. Oh, wait, I didn't tell you guys my story. I should tell you my story about the company I sold. I never told you guys about that.
Yes, I want to hear this.
Yeah. Okay, let me back up then. We'll cut that part out. I know. Do you guys want to hear the story of the company I built and sold? don't think I haven't told you guys that story. Say yes, because I want to tell it real quick.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
want to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
wasn't sure if you were asking us or the chat.
oh no, yeah, you guys. So when I was first starting out on, this is like a classic mistake I made too. So this will be a good lesson in here. Classic mistake that I see a lot of creators making is I was growing a blog at the time, this is prior to YouTube days, and it had grown into the most widely read blog on the internet in the youth and family space. And at that time, building websites was like the new thing, like growing social media followings is now. That was like, ooh, how do you build a website? So you guys remember like GeoCities maybe, and some of these like Dream, what is it? Dreamweaver before Adobe bought it. It was like Macromedia and like all that kind of stuff. And so I had all these other youth and family workers who were like, I need a website for my youth group or for my church or for whatever. And they're like, how did you make your website? My blog, which was just a WordPress blog back then. It was like version 1.5, I think is when I started. And so I kept getting that request all the time. And what I hear a lot, this is where the mistake came in. A lot of creators are like, hey, everyone in my audience is telling me this one thing, so I should do it. Well, just because you hear that from a few people doesn't mean that everyone wants it. It doesn't even mean that anyone else wants it besides those 3 people who told you that, right? So what I was hearing a lot was, Tim, I just need an easy way to build a website. Can you teach us how to build a website? And so the blog was growing. That was like a business all in of itself. But I'm like, I have this audience of people who want this thing. How about I start another business? And I called it ministrywebsites.biz because the .com was taken. So I got the .biz and set up a service where we would build websites, and I got it all systematized. I got it all down. It was really, really quick. I would even throw in, at that time, I would build a quick Facebook app, which were way more, that was like the new thing back then. Everyone wanted their own Facebook app because Facebook worked very different back then too. And so I had built, I got the whole thing systematized, started selling it. Got a couple of clients, got a couple more clients. And what I liked about it is, like, once someone locks in their website, they very rarely cancel their subscription because of all the work that goes into building it. Like they can't just port that somewhere else and start all over. So it was a good business model in the sense that once you get someone on board, they usually stay on board long-term. So the support requests started building up, and I was staying on top of them, and it was fun. It was fine. It wasn't fun, but that's what I learned is, like, I like building the websites for people, but I didn't like having to support them. So I tried to get people who would support people for us. And then that was proving to be way more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And then I eventually just lost interest, to be honest, and trying to maintain all these different people's websites, and the money wasn't nearly worth it. It was at first, but then this wasn't worth it to me anymore. I don't want to be spending my time doing this type of stuff. And so I started looking around for someone who, Harley Pebbly in the chat says, Tim doing systems even back then. That's right. That's what I love. Let me come back to that. Okay. So I started wanting this. I was like, I want to get rid of this. Can I sell it? Never sold a business before. Long story short, found someone else who had a business very similar to mine, but in a different niche. And he was like, you know what? Like, my business is sustainable, but if I could get a shot in the arm of double my clientele, this would be much more profitable for me very quickly. And so I sold him the business. Basically, he just bought all the clients and their websites and took over all the support and everything. And it was cool for me. I made some money, and worked out well for me, worked out well for him, and in the end worked out better for the clients that he was serving at that time, better than I was. So grew it, got a bunch of clients, got the systems in place, and then sold it. So there's that business. That's not one. But I think what Harley Pebbly saying in chat is Tim doing systems even back then. That's what I've noticed. Like, if I was, Lennon, you said real life is just really random. But mine feels that way, but I feel like there's a through line that ties it all together for me, which is, one, reaching people and changing their lives. Just the method I'm doing that has changed, whether it's youth and family work or websites or YouTube, or in this case, podcast and live stream. But the thing that I really loved was the systems, which was started with video games, RPG stuff, where it was like this amount of damage with this amount of shield, with that weapon and this environment, with this character and that buff and blah, 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 blah. It's just a lot of fast math is all it was, equals this much damage. And I really like figuring out those systems to win and beat the game. And then it switched to website. Well, back then SEO was way more simpler than it is today, and switched to figuring those systems out. And then eventually it went to, just different things. Eventually ended on YouTube algorithm, which was, this amount of views and this amount of time with that amount of that kind of branding and this audience and blah, blah, blah equals success. So that's what I really, really get most excited about. And so there's probably some through lines for you too, Lennon. I don't know. I spent a lot of money on therapy to figure it out. Not even kidding.
That's why I got married. My wife she listens to me battle through those things. We have a lot of those conversations of, that kind of stuff. Like what are those through lines rather, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Before we die, maybe you want that to be your story where you are growing your YouTube channel. Maybe you want to sell it one day. Maybe you don't. Either way, the way you grow it is still the same way, by putting good systems and processes into place. I recently had the fortunate opportunity, I don't know, to talk with Mike from Our Wyoming Life. I've done several consultations with him. Actually, he's been through Video Labs. It has a very successful channel. Almost 150,000 subscribers and doing like 50,000 views per video. Very hardcore, dedicated, loyal audience. And so I talked with him recently where he's like, Tim, we're working so hard on our ranch, on our YouTube channel, and it's making money. Like, it's supporting everything we needed to support, but we feel like we are working way more harder. My English and my grammar is awesome today. This is way more difficult than it needs to be. And so they did a business consultation with me to learn what do they need to do so they're not just working so hard just to make this amount of revenue, which is a full-time income, but they're like, we are overworking ourselves. So it was fun to sit down with Mike and his wife and have a conversation about the business side of their channel. And I asked Mike after our session, I was like, what would be some of the main takeaways that you would recommend for someone who maybe feels like they're in a similar spot? What advice would you give to them? How would you approach it? And so here's a little bit of my conversation with Mike to help any one of you who's in that situation, help you out. Mike, tell us about what you're doing on YouTube.
Well, my channel is called Our Wyoming Life. My wife and I came from the corporate world, having nothing to do with Wyoming or ranching or anything like that. And we came back to her family ranch in Wyoming and ended up taking the entire place over and starting from not knowing a thing about cows, chickens, pigs, anything like that, to running 5,000 acres and hundreds of animals and feeding ourselves and trying to help feed other people and trying to really introduce people to where their food comes from. That's kind of our main goal.
5,000 acres? I didn't know. I just got 5 and I'm doing like some gardening. We got some fruit trees going on. I didn't realize a 5K. My gosh. So literally 1,000 times bigger than what we're working with here.
I have a John Deere Gator that has 14,000 miles on it and has never left the ranch.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, as a result of our conversation here, and we've been talking more with a channel in your position that's more successful and then has a business wrapped around it. You're kind of at a different tier, but so we spent a lot of time talking about the business side of your channel. But based on our conversation here, where do you think are like the main things you're going to move forward with in developing the business around your channel?
Well, I think one of the things that Tim, that you pointed out to us was the fact that there are plenty of opportunities and ways to make money through YouTube, but it's very easy to get distracted and make $5 here and $10 there. Whereas if you concentrated on 1 or 2 or 3 things, you can actually end up making more money, having a better business plan, impact people's lives more by concentrating on those 3 things than concentrating on 50 things. And, you can nickel and dime yourself to death. And that has to do with money, time, effort, emotionally, all that kind of stuff. And if you can concentrate on the 3 things that are most important to you, I think that's where you will find success. And that's one thing that Video Creators has taught me since the very beginning, was that you have to concentrate on something, or else you're just all over the place.
Yeah, it's really easy to be like, I'm going to do affiliates, I'm going to do speaking, I'm going to do Patreon, I'm going to do channel memberships, I'm going to do merch sales, I'm going to do like all the, and you guys, you probably have found more ways to monetize your channel than almost any other channel I've worked to. How, if you don't mind sharing, because I don't actually know the number, how many different ways do you guys monetize this thing?
Oh man, I don't even know.
In the 20s?
So I would say at least probably 15 different ways that we 15. Have. Yeah. That we have some sort of income coming in from, $1,000 a month to, $100 a month. And that's where you have to decide, how much time am I spending on making this $100 a month as compared to making this $1,000 a month. So,
and it's hard when you like really like the $100 a month thing. Or if your audience, you have a few people really passionate about that thing, you got to like, let it go. I've had to do that. That's hard. Well, if you guys want to check out Mike and his channel, you can search YouTube for Our Wyoming Life, or I'll put a link down in the show notes where you guys can check it out. Go check out the stuff he's doing. Very inspirational. Even if you're not a rancher, and even if you don't care about that kind of stuff, you'll learn a lot and hear and get a lot of really good stories about a family that's working together on this mission to grow this farm and this ranch and serve a lot of people through it. So thank you, Mike, for what you're doing there. You guys go check it out.
Thanks, Tim.
It is such a common mistake to focus on all 15 different revenue streams. Maybe 1 or 2 of them are actually producing something decent, and then you end up like splitting the rest of your time between all these little things, or like $10 here, $50 there, $100 there, $1,000 there. And rather than be like, what's the one thing that serves my audience the best, that pays the best, and it pays the best because they're voting with their dollars, with their wallet, saying this is the most valuable thing to me that you do. So what is it that they're indicating that makes the most money, which is how one of the things, serving them the best, that is sustainable for me and that I can scale. One thing that shifted for me, and this is what we talked about with Mike in our session, was that the people who are like millionaires and billionaires, it's not because they figured out how to do 100 different things. It's because they learned how to do one thing better than anyone else in the world. So what is this is one of the things I talk about with Mike, was what is that one thing you feel like you can do better than anyone else in the world? Or maybe not right now, but you feel like you have what it takes to develop that skill to the point where you can be the best in the world of that one thing. For us here at Video Creators, for me, I decided I want to be the best in the world at helping YouTube creators develop a strategy around growing a business and an audience on YouTube that reaches people and changes their lives, starting with the creator's life. So I used to do channel management for people. I'm like, nope, I don't want to do channel management. That's a little bit outside my lane. Thought about doing video production. Like, nope, that's outside my lane. These are all things people ask us to do, but we always say, no, this is the one thing we're going to do best in the world at. Not best in channel management, best at doing strategy for people who are doing it on their own, or have a small team around their channel that they are working with. So that is what I want to encourage you guys to do, is to really focus on that as well. That's not part of our content here. Just like, it's just such a big, important thing. So if you feel like you would love to jump into a consultation with me and talk about the business side of growing a business and making money around your audience, I would love to do that. You can go to videocreators.com/consulting and sign up for that today. Or if you're like, hey, I'm just trying to grow my channel right now, how do I get more views? How do I get more subscribers? I see a lot of you guys in the chat right now who are asking that as well. How do I do that? You can also go same URL, and you can set up a session with Delana or with Lennon as well. And they are great. They do an awesome job. And we do a couple hundred of those sessions a month. So we'd love to have you be one of them. Just go to videocreators.com/consulting. Oh, the only thing is we are booked out a little bit right now. There might be a cancellation or two that you can jump in on and snag those spots. But if you look at it and you're like, hey, Tim, you guys are booked out till like September, something's broken. We're like, nope, it's not broken. We just love helping a lot of people get a lot of success. So that's what's happening there. So videocreators.com/consulting. When it comes to the business side of your YouTube channel, this is something that you guys who've been around for a while know that we've been talking more and more about, and is something that I think is really important. And I feel like there's a gap in a lot of online content for YouTube creators who have an audience and like, how do I monetize this? How do I turn this into a business? How do I make more money with it? I know too many creators who have over 1 million subscribers who are making less than $500 a month. And it's not because they did a poor job growing their audience. It's just because they figured out how to get people to consume content for free on YouTube, but they haven't figured out how to take that next step. And how do I actually grow a business now around this audience that makes this sustainable? I can't live on $500 a month, Tim. I have 1.5 million subscribers. I can't pay rent, can't pay groceries. Like, what did I do wrong? I thought that I've had 1 million subscribers, everything would just grow and I would be making money. Well, 1 million subscribers doesn't mean money falls from the sky for you any more than it does for anyone else. So we are trying to, especially with the more lately with some of these podcast episodes and videos that we're doing, trying to help you guys learn the strategy of growing a business around your channel, not just how do I grow an audience around it. And so one of the things I did, actually just finished it last week, is I wrote a free guide for you guys. It's called Product to Profit. And the subtitle is Turn Your Audience into a Thriving Business. And this isn't one of those little guides that's like 6 pages long and it basically ends up promoting something that you should buy to actually get the value you want. I spent a lot of time on this. It's 40 some pages long, and it is all about like the problem you're facing, the exact tools that I use to figure out who my customer, who you guys are, and what product you're going to buy, how I test those ideas before I invest into them, the plan I put together for how I'm going to create that product. It includes all, like not all, but most of my sales stuff, including my exact sales script outline that I use that you can take and use for your stuff, and a whole cheat sheet for everything so you can go through it real quick when you actually start doing this. There's a lot of things there, and it's completely free. You'll find a link in the show notes where you can just tap on that. It'll take you straight to the page where you can download that free guide completely for free. And what I want to do today is talk up through one little tiny section. I think it's just like a page in there. If I scroll, I have it open in front of me. It's 2 pages. Nope, 1.5 pages basically is what I want to talk through with you guys here today about the 5 things that I did that really made it made the $1 million goal on YouTube, helped us reach it much more quickly. It's these 5 sales tactics that I use to make over $1 million on YouTube, and I think you guys can too. The biggest problem that a creator faces, not just in growing their YouTube channel, but also in growing their business, is that they make this false assumption that if I just have more exposure, then my channel would grow, or then my product would sell. And they feel like YouTube's holding me back, the algorithm's holding me back, or whatever. But then you go to like sell this thing and you have an audience of like 1 million people maybe, and then it doesn't sell. And you're like, well, you have no one else to blame at that point. You're like, well, I used the wrong platform, or the credit cards weren't going through, or something. It's harder to make excuses than YouTube's algorithm at that point. The thing is like the way you're either selling your channel to a first-time viewer in order to grow it, or you need to learn how to sell your product, your service, your business you got to get people to feel compelled to take action. That's what it comes down to, whether it's a sale or a subscribe button, or even the click in a title and thumbnail. It's the skill of how do we get people to feel compelled enough to take action on our content, to click play, to subscribe, to watch another video, to go and get into a playlist, or to click on your lead magnet, like my product to profit guide, or whatever. You clicking on a link to go to your website. The issue here is not exposure. The issue is how do we get people to take action? So the same is true for your product when you're trying to sell your product. Now, I know a lot of creators are like, well, Tim, I do a lot of brand deals and sponsorships for brands. I have a big audience. I'm pretty sure I know how to sell. And I will say, not necessarily. I don't think you do. There's a big difference between being hired by brands to do brand deals and sponsorships than selling your own product. On the former, all it really means is like you've learned how to get people to consume your content for free. And now a brand manager often cares more about being associated with your brand and looking good to his boss than he does about actual sales conversions. But you, however, as the business owner of your channel, you actually do care about sales conversions. It's not going to be enough for you to just get a lot of eyeballs and people are like, yeah, that was good. We got some good brand lift or something. You're like, I don't care about brand lift. I actually need transactions. I actually need sales that come directly from when I promote this thing. So sales in and of itself is a huge topic. We're not going to get into all the nitty gritty of a lot of it, but let me boil it down to a few principles that have been most beneficial. Number one, you have to, that's what sets the context. You have to understand that 95% of all sales are emotional decisions. And that's not a made up number. That is according to a Harvard professor, Gerald Zaltman's research. He says, in order to sell, your viewer must feel something, whether that be trust in your ability to deliver on what you promise, whether that be trust in that the product will solve their problems, whether that just be a positive feeling towards you and your brand that compels them to want to become a deeper part of it, or something like when you connect your product and service with something that they're feeling, you're telling them that your product or service is what they need to address the thing they actually want. And how do you figure out what they actually want and build a product to actually buy? Well, that's where the guide comes in. I'll walk you through the exact tool and process I go through every year to fine tune and figure that out. But when it comes to when you actually have the product or service, how do you actually sell it? What do you do that connects with people on an emotional level? Well, there's 5 things. And the first thing is that this is a big mistake I made, guys. Actually, let me tell you a story, and then we'll lead right into this. Is that when the first time I made, some of you guys are gonna grunt and groan in the chat. I'm sorry, but this is the truth. When I first created a product that is now Video Labs, which I know many of you here in the chat have gone through and experienced tremendous growth through that product, through that 8-week course where you're working hands-on with Lennon, Delana, or myself through that process. When I first, it was in a different format. But I called it something else. So there's some things that were significantly different, but it was basically that idea. I was charging $9 a month for it. And people in the chat be like, what? Yeah, we had like, welcome to Chickenlandia saying Video Labs was so awesome. And some of you guys are going to hate me now. I tell you, it was a different product. Okay. But it was $9 a month. Well, some people told me, like, Tim, the reason you're not selling it is, one, you are way undercharging. People don't believe that you can actually deliver on that promise for only that amount of money. And they're also saying that the pitch is all wrong, Tim. Like, you're just telling people what it is. What people care about is that you're selling what is it going to do for me? Not, I'm like, hey guys, here's what you do, $9 a month, and we're going to get into a once a month call and talk about your channels. I'll come with a little bit of a training, and then we'll just talk about it and give you some assignments, and then you move on. It was like a Patreon perk, basically, is what it was. And I think I announced it, and I sold like 5 of them, basically. And I was like, well, what's wrong? Like, I thought this would be really valuable. So the principle number 1 that I learned is sell benefits, not features. A feature is something your product has, whereas a benefit is the product's result that it gets for your customer. Like, if your customer buys it, the benefit is the result they're going to get. So in other words, features are like very logical. Like, this is what you get. Bullet point 1, 2, and 3, while benefits are more emotional. And so you always want to pitch the benefits, the reward your customer will get if they buy the product. Because I learned with you guys the hard way, most of you don't care that we're going to meet every week for an hour and have a training topic where we're going to just discuss a thing on YouTube, and then you're going to get some assignments and move forward with it. You guys were like, no one bought that thing. And so they're like, Tim, what we need to know is this going to help me get more views? Is this going to help me make more money? Is this going to help me grow my subscribership? Is this going to help me, like, the reward, the benefits that creators actually wanted? And so I changed my approach. I took that person's advice, and instead They said, Tim, charge $500. I'm like, $500? Like going from $9, $500? They said, yeah, format it this way. It said, so don't meet once a month, meet every week, but only do it for 8 weeks. Because that was what I came out with the content. Like how much content do you feel like this? They started helping me think through processes and systems. Like you can just start here and end there. And if they go through this 8-week process, can you guarantee growth on their channel as a result? So that's what I put together. Make it 8 weeks, and the format's a little bit different. And then I gave it the official name Video Labs at that point. Rather, I took it off of Patreon. It's called Video Lab, charged $500. And the first time I launched it, selling the benefits instead of the what was it? I'll throw a blank. Instead of the features, yeah. I sold 15 of those, and I was like, oh. 15 at $500 is way more than 5 at $9, right? Like just, you don't need to be super smart to figure that out. And so part of it was I packaged the product a little bit better, but part of it is I pitched it completely differently too. So that's number one, sell benefits, not features. Number two, the second thing that was really helpful for me is using my customers' language to talk about the product. So in this free guide, Product to Profit, I'll give you an outline that I go through for exactly how do I figure out how my audience talks about their problem. And it's not because we do hundreds of consultations every month and we're talking to you guys all the time. You would think that would be enough, but every time I go through this process I outline in the book, it is like I am surprised every single time, and I learn something about my audience and come out with much better data than just something like, well, I talk to these people, I think I should know them. So when you use the customer's language, it comes back again to the feeling thing. When I describe the problem that I am solving for you guys, it makes you feel like, oh, Tim, it's like you knew my exact problem. I'm like, I know. That's because I took the time to get to know your problem and talk about it in the way you talk about it. Because as experts, a lot of the times we have this thing called the curse of knowledge where we think we understand the problem, but we talk about it differently than someone who is experiencing the problem. We talk about it from like inside baseball language, and we're like, okay, yeah, here, go through this course. I'm going to teach you how to double your watch time. But no one ever says like, Tim, I just really need to double my watch time. Instead, they're like, how do I get more views? Right? So that's the language I'm going to use. So you use their language, and it makes them feel like you know them way more intimately, and it makes them feel like this product is exactly for them because it is actually exactly for them, and because it is exactly what they need to solve their problem. It's just that now you're communicating about it in a way that makes them feel that way. I know I want to get to a lot of your questions that are coming in, so let me go through these here. But you guys keep them coming. Keep tagging Dahlia in the chat, and she'll put them here in front of us. Number 3 is that the third thing that was really helpful for me is to identify what my audience actually wants and then sell that. I thought that the sale was about selling the product, but it's not. It's actually about solving your customer's problem. They don't care what your product is unless it clearly, for them, is going to address and solve a problem that they feel. So if you are like just kind of telling people, hey, this is what it's all about, you get this, you get that, whatever thing, people are like, that's nice, but what does it do for me? These are the same principles that grow your YouTube channel, by the way. It's like, how quickly can I figure out what the value here of this channel is for me? And the more quickly and better that value proposition is integrated into your content, the more quickly people are going to be to consume your channel and come back for more, and the faster your channel will grow. So for me, like one of the things I started doing is like just starting some of my sales pitches with telling your story. Sometimes I tell it as my story, but if it's not genuinely part of my story in the past, then I'll just tell your story. And you guys are like, yes, that's me. That's what, and it gets your emotions going. You're like, now you're feeling like I understand you and their problem. So what I'm not doing is manipulating you. What I'm actually doing is better communicating the value I have to offer and making that communication more clear so that you guys feel that, yes, the value that Tim is providing is the value that I need that's going to solve my problem. The product itself isn't any different. It's all about the pitch and how I communicate it. Principle number 4 is I needed to show how I'm credible to solve the problem. And so this is based on 2 factors usually. It's based on trust and based on expertise. So the trust factor is usually grown through podcast episodes like this, through our free content, through people, just consuming some of the things that we do for free. That grows the trust factor. And then that gets them to like know us and like us and trust us. But you can also accomplish that by telling your story, as well as maybe featuring testimonials. Selling is heavily based on someone's perceived relationship with you and your brand. So showing that we're credible by for us, including little stories about, like with Mike, working with Mike, that you just heard a little bit of my session with him. And so he's lending some of his credibility. He's more of a neutral third party. He's not just talking us up just because I'm paying him to do that or something like that. He actually paid me for him to do that. So those types of things build credibility, build trust. And so you need to show how you're credible, not in a braggy kind of way, but just tell stories of like, hey, here's a creator. In our case, here's a creator who experienced the exact same problem you're experiencing. Here's how we helped them solve it. And here's the first steps that they did to overcome it. So it's still good, valuable content for you, but you're learning in the process. Like, I could hire Tim and his team to help me with my problem, work through that same thing too. I want more of that. So that's basically what's happening there. Number 5, this is a big mistake I made, is that you have to make the call to action at the end clear and obvious. You can't assume that people know what step they should take next to buy the product. You need to tell them exactly where to go on your website, what button to click, even what to expect immediately after the transaction occurs. So when I told you guys about consulting here earlier, I said, go to videocreators.com/consulting and book your session with us today. It's like, you can't just be like, hey, we have consulting, we love to work with you, and then move on, right? People are like, okay, I want to work with you. How do I do that? And then start fumbling around. Okay. So whether that's in a sales video, whether it's in a podcast, whether it's on your sales page, on landing page or whatever, that checkout button needs to be big. It needs to be bright. It needs to be very obvious. And especially on audio, just tell people like a really quick URL that people can hear and understand and remember and go type in. So you have to make that call to action clear and obvious. Only give them one path to take. Don't give them 3 or 4 different options of like, do this, do that, or the other thing. Like in this episode, we're not pitching 30 Days to a Better YouTube channel. We're not pitching Video Labs, although we probably should, because registration opens. Well, it's open right now, actually. So we probably should be, but we're not. So, although I guess I just kind of did. So one thing, make it clear, make it obvious, make everything revolve around that thing. So there's no confusion. You will be very surprised how even the slightest bit of confusion reduces click-through rates. Any sort of unclarity reduces the amount of conversions that happen. So very clear, very obvious. Okay. Now in that guide, Product to Profit, I include an exact outline of my sales script that I use. So you can just take that outline, copy it. It's been successful for us. It's worked very well. And actually just used it again my last night for another business that my wife and I, we've had it for a while, but we're ready to scale it and start growing it. Something that my wife does mostly with like only a few hours a week, but we're like, we need to give this more attention because we're onto something here. So, but I wrote her video sales script for her yesterday. I opened up this exact same outline and used it again. When I write the landing page for her, I'll use the exact same thing. So you guys can get that for free, plus all the other stuff about how do you figure out what your audience wants, what product do they want? Will they let them tell you what product they want to buy from you, give you that exact process, and how to pitch it, how to sell it, how to test the idea so that you don't waste a lot of time and money on the wrong thing. Because that happens a lot too. That happened for me actually back when I was a full-time blogger. I had a book publishing deal with an actual legitimate publisher, Zondervan, and they're like, hey, Tim, you've got an audience. Let's publish this book. People will buy it. I was like, all right. So they paid me a nice advance. I wrote it. It's published, and then no one bought it. And that's when I learned, I was like, having an audience does not automatically equate to making money. It does not automatically equate to sales just because people are consuming your stuff for free. It was a book. Like, my audience buys books all the time. I'm like, it was on bookshelves in Barnes and Noble and in bookshelves across the country. I'm like, you don't have to buy it from me. Just go to your bookstore. I think it was pre-Amazon too. Just go to your bookstore and just buy it, and they never went to a second printing. And I think the publisher ended up with a pallet full of my books in their warehouse. So I was like, what did I do wrong? And that this guy, Product to Profit, Turn Your Audience into a Thriving Business, is the major mistakes that I made and what I learned about the different, like how you actually turn an audience into a business and making money. So it's completely free. I wish I had a short URL to give you audio wise, but if you just tap the link in the show notes of this episode, you can get to it. Or I think if you just go to videocreators.com/product-to-profit, you'll get there as well. Len and Delana, did I leave anything else? I just burned through that. So you guys have any others?
Yeah, that was
Any
great.
thoughts you want to add to it before we jump into the questions here?
What I kept thinking the whole time is I was just like, it's so crazy how much overlap there is here between how to position your product and talk about your product and everything in between, like the overlap of also how to like just grow on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, like learn how to grow on YouTube and you'll learn so much about how to grow a successful business as well. And vice versa. I just feel like like you were talking about, sell the benefits, not the features. And it's like, yeah, that has everything to do with titles and thumbnails a lot of the time, is sell the benefit of whatever you're talking about rather than just how to do this, you know? What's on the other side of them figuring out how to do that? How is it going to improve their life and stuff? And I don't know, it's just always fascinating to me how much overlap there is on this topic.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of difference. The principles in terms of how do you get people to consume from you for free and in video content are very similar to how do you get people to consume from you for a fee in like a online course or a service. Like we offer both. We have online courses or work on your own, like 30 Days to Better YouTube channel. We have this hybrid, which is like group consulting, coaching, along with coursework and assignments, which is video labs. And then we have one-on-one services, which would be our consulting, or when we take on a client longer term and do all their strategy and all their analytics analysis stuff. I mean, that's what Delana does full time for most of our, so she could probably describe that better. But I need to learn how to. I'm usually the one who sells it, but it's like 3 months of working with us and our team, and she gets into your analytics, generates all these reports for you, gives you checklists of what you need to do next on your channel, getting the multiple calls. You get to email her whenever you want with questions like, hey, thumbnail A, thumbnail B, which one should I do? Or I'm here, can you watch this video before I publish it? Trying to do everything we just talked about. Am I going the right direction? And she'll help you course correct and be like, every month evaluate. So last month we thought we were going to do this, but it's not really working the way we thought. So let's do it this way instead. And just kind of be your dedicated YouTube strategist for everything you need to grow your channel. So that's very hands-on. Approach. So that's clearly on the services side. So we do have products and services. Not saying you guys should, but we found the same thing, that the principles that grow your YouTube channel are the same ones that sell products and services, is what I'm saying. Whew, I feel like I just ran out of breath.
I was about to say, you feel a little winded right now?
Anyone who was listening on double speed was like, hold on, let me put this on half speed.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into some questions here from you guys. We've got Maximus Minibus. I've been encouraged in other YouTube circles to give free content to grow my email list, even though I'm not ready to sell anything yet. What's your view? Wait or start now? Len and Delaney, what do you guys think?
I would say, if you can offer something, even if it's small, I think it's good to be able to have that. It's actually, as I've been trying to grow my side thing, it's been frustrating that I didn't have something sooner. For a couple of reasons. Like, there's a lot to learn by selling a product at all and just creating something and putting it out there and getting it ready. And I think doing that kind of as you're like growing in that way, as you're growing with your audience, I think is really great. And then the other side to that is just having that, and this was actually advice from you, Tim, for me, was just having that transactional expectation for your audience sooner is also important because now they don't expect you. You know, I think of it the way I used to run my own business, and not on YouTube, but in like music and production world. Like I did so much work for free in the beginning, and then I just became the free guy, you know, and then it was really hard to climb out of that and become somebody that was known for great work that was valued at the amount that I needed to be able to support myself and my family. You know, I was able to do it, but it was definitely a wake-up call of like, I probably should have thought about this sooner.
That's the exact mistake. That's part of why my book never sold, even my published book, was because I was the free guy. I was giving away everything for free. And as soon as I tried to sell something, part of it was like, people were like, whoa, Tim, what's going on? Like, you're the free guy. We're not used to taking out our wallet and making a transaction with you and your brand. So even though people buy books all the time on various different subjects, especially my audience that youth and family work, they were always buying curriculum and things for their groups and stuff. So it wasn't like the format was wrong. It was just that I hadn't trained my audience to expect a transaction of some kind. So I would encourage you, yes, to do it, to get that email list going, Maximalist, Minibest, or Mary, as we know her. We're on like a first name basis, so we can call her Mary. I would follow the advice of other YouTube circles. And grow your email list. Even if you're not really ready to sell anything yet, it means that you can promote other things if you want to, outside of like your YouTube channels. Another touch point, you can send them your email or your videos. Other random thoughts. It's just kind of like an insider type program, and you can call it, that's what we call ours, is like video creator insiders, but give them something, make them feel some sort of exclusivity, and yeah, give them content that maybe other people don't normally get. But I do think it's a good idea. I think it's smart. Let's see. We got a question from Cardiff, who says, so I wanted to get my community to fill out a questionnaire, but even though I have 20,000 subs, I get 1 or 2 people engaging. How do I get more people to participate? Oh, that's a very good question. I actually addressed that in the guide. It's not to plug that again, but I guess I am. So yes, it's in the guide. Lennon, Delaney, you want to take a crack at it, or you want me to dive on?
Well, the only thing that, like, my first thought whenever I see that is it just sounds like your audience doesn't feel super emotionally tied to you. And so I would ask yourself, like, how you are bringing them into your personal story, and like building more of that emotional connection and not just a transactional connection, which that's what I call it. Is if you go and you click on, like, you search how to fix your dishwasher. We were just installing appliances, so it's on my mind. If you go and look up how to install your dishwasher and you click on the video, and the guy shows you everything step by step by step, but he doesn't tell you anything about himself or anything. It's just a very straightforward video. That's what I call a transactional type of content. They just come, they watch, they leave, and they never come back. And so my first question to you, if I were having a conversation, it would be, is your content just transactional? Because if it is, then you're not taking them deeper. And if they don't feel connected to you, then they're not like anticipating engagement in any way. And so, that's the biggest thing that I would see there.
Yeah. The bigger issue here is the engagement thing. So the thing that Delana said is definitely, like, you get the issue here isn't, you have something else you need to fix first, which is engagement. If you only get out of 20,000 subscribers, you get 1 or 2 people to fill out a questionnaire, you're not going to get anyone to buy anything from you. Like, all you're asking is like, hey, can you give me some feedback? And hopefully you've built a community of people who'd be like, I would love to give you whatever I can. Like, you've been so helpful. And for me, like, taking a 3-4 minute survey questionnaire is like the least that I can do to give back. Like, that's where you need to be with that audience. When you start getting to that point, then you'll know you're probably closer to selling. So sending out a questionnaire and just seeing how many people will just give me feedback might be one way to evaluate, is my audience ready to buy something from me? And it sounds like Cardiff, not to be mean or critical, but it sounds like you're not there yet. That you gotta, before you develop the product, I would first go back to being like, how do I grow a community of people who are willing to engage? And maybe you have that with your content. And if that's the case, because you said, oh no, he didn't say how you promoted it. Maybe you just need to promote it more. Maybe you need to make a video about it, add it to your community tab, tweet it, email, Instagram, whatever. But yeah, if you're not getting engagement, I'd say you got to go back and evaluate some of your primal branding principles and things like that. We have another question here, but I want to quickly say, Mr. Humanity, thanks for the super chat. Tim is the man with a plan. Thanks. I did a consultation with him a few weeks ago and actually have a video clip from him I'm going to be highlighting in the future. We got a Suburban Homesteader Wyoming, I'm assuming. Lennon, I'm excited to have a consultation with you next week. So Suburban Homesteader. I kind of want to do that one. It's like what I'm homesteading, Suburban Homesteading. I have to check that one out.
Are you gonna like crash their Zoom room?
Maybe, probably not. I'm too busy. Savvy Turtle, thanks for the super chat. Have some coffee on us. Love you guys. Appreciate it. And then Savvy Turtle also became a new channel member. So thank you. Professor Slots asks, Tim, what is your biggest revenue stream? My channel has a similar business model, so knowing would be good feedback if you care to share, of course. Yeah, I posted this. Where did I post this? On Instagram? I think I posted a pie chart of this not super long ago. Let me see. Okay, it's longer ago than I thought it was. I'm scrolling back. If you guys want to follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/video creators. Oh, here it is. That was back in. Okay, so this one was beginning of 2019. I published what it was, beginning of what our revenue breakdown was for 2018. It's definitely changed now I look at it now, but it's you asked revenue, but perhaps what you mean is profit. So the things that make us the most money in terms of revenue aren't necessarily the things that make us the most profit. So without breaking all that down, I guess, our number one thing that we do is video labs, and that one, because it has the biggest impact on creators. Like that process just flat out works for anyone who's going to go through it. It is very predictable, very reproducible. It's a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but it works. So it is a so that one is like the main thing that we do. 30 Days to Better YouTube channel, though, is more profitable because it's just a work, like all we got to do is sell it and there's no interaction with us. So if that's almost like 100% profit after I made the investment up front to create it and launch it. Now, as people just buy a 30 Days to Better YouTube channel, that has a much bigger profit margin. So, but we like the services stuff, even though the product side is a lot simpler and easier and higher margins, because we actually see people's lives get changed better, bigger, than when they're just going through some premium material that they paid for to get access to a course. It changes their life. But when you actually get into video labs and go through that working with us, or you get into a consultation one-on-one with one of us, or you start doing the action plan with Lennon or Delana, that is when like we see the biggest life get changed. So we've seen a lot of people buy the course and it's good profit for us, but so many people go through it and don't do anything with it, or they just buy it and never finish the course. I can see exactly what the completion rates are. Or so many people will do it and just do it half-heartedly. Like their lives just don't get changed until they're ready to commit to actually make this thing work. And at that point, they want to work with one of us. And so we do the services stuff, even though it's messier, it's more complicated, it doesn't have the same margins, but we see more lives get changed. So I don't know what I'm saying there, other than like you knowing what your mission is and what you hope to accomplish makes a really big difference in how you craft your business and your model. So it's not ultimately about profit for us, although it needs to be profitable, obviously, or we can't keep doing this. but it's ultimately about like, where do we see the most life change happening? And we see that in services personally. Did I answer the question? I just go way off topic. I don't know. Oh, biggest revenue stream. Yeah. So video labs would be that for us in terms of total revenue. Okay, we got a question here from Facebook actually. So let me pull that up here. Missing it. Says, hey all, any examples of products, services your clients created, looking for out of the box stuff for channels that have no obvious answer? That's a really common question, Brent, especially for people like, well, I just have a gaming channel, or I'm just a family vlogging channel, or usually it's the entertainment space, the expert educational space. Usually they just sell more education. But Len and Delina, how do you guys usually handle this one for people who are like, yeah, need some other ideas besides, like, I don't want to be a consultant, I don't want to sell courses, like I just do family vlogs or something?
Yeah, I think it depends on the value that you have to offer. So, you know, and what it is, because I think even entertainment channels, or, you know, what our relational value, as you talked about earlier, is with the people that watch us is the key here. So you might be able to sell access to yourself, like some sort of membership group where it's like, here's where we hang out. You might be able to do, if you're like some sort of artist or a or, you know, musician or somebody like that, you might be able to sell live events. You might be able to curate things where it's opportunities for where you bring together other people in your space and develop some sort of program or something. So summits or things like that. I think it just really varies, but the main thing is to not like get too tied up in feeling like there needs to be an obvious answer. I think that if you, to Delana's point, if you have a great relationship with your audience and you've built that sort of connection, you know, there's no shame in just asking like, hey, is there anything that I do that you might be willing to pay for? That, you know, I have some friends that they did the #2 most popular Kickstarter on the platform. And a big thing that they did, I mean, just hundreds of thousands of dollars that they raised. And the big things that they did were these really quirky, unique experiences that they generated and created for their fans. And it was absolutely brilliant. So doesn't need to be in the box. If you have a good relational value to your audience, they will be willing to support you.
Yeah, in the guide, Product to Profit, I actually, chapter 3 actually goes all into that in terms of the 12 different forms of value is what we call them, but the 12 different ways that you can create value and capture value with whether it be products or services or shared resources, subscriptions, and other things. There's 12 different ones. So just meant to help spark some ideas. So that's in that free guide, Product to Profit. You can go through all of that. But I think one of the reasons people get stuck here is because they haven't yet figured out the actual value of what their audience wants from them. So people too quickly jump to products saying, hey, I have 1 million subscribers. Now, how do I monetize this? What should I sell? I'm like, well, you don't know what to sell yet because you don't even know what they want. You don't know what they're going to buy and what they're not going to buy. So it's really important that we first go through the process in order that I outline it in Product to Profit, that you like just don't jump to a product and assume people are going to buy. So I think the product becomes more clear, Brent, as you more clearly identify what the audience wants, what their problem is. And then that question is it's not yet what product do we sell. It's like, well, what's the best way we can solve that for someone? And then figure out how to solve it and then turn that into a product, as opposed to like, well, I'm just going to make an online course because someone told me I can make a lot of money doing that. Maybe someone told me I can make a lot of money selling books too. So it really just comes down to how well the connection is between the pitch, how clear that is, to the value, the reward, the benefit, and solving the problem that the viewer has. So even as an entertainment channel, It's maybe solving a problem of community or perceived relationships, or just killing time. Like all those things are problems to be solved that a lot of people have. So I think that was the last one. Is that the last one? Last question.
I think so.
I had queued up here. Let me check here. Dead air is not good for podcasts, so I'll cut all this out. All right, let's wrap this up. We are going to wrap up this episode with something that we tried to do and usually forget to do. And I think we can blame it on Delana because she's been on vacation and then I don't remember unless she's here. But Delana, you wrap us up with a quote of the day. So what is that?
All right.
Week, actually.
I've got it from the book, The Tipping Point, that I bought for $7.49, as you can see. And it's by Malcolm Gladwell. And it says, if you don't try, you'll never succeed. Yes.
That's a rocket scientist one.
Yes.
Like,
you won't know until you try, guys. So I feel like that kind of goes back to Lennon's point of just like, if you don't know what product to sell, just ask, just try something. Like you're just never gonna get anywhere if you just stay in analysis paralysis. You just got to start the momentum and then the clarity will come.
Right.
Yeah.
And even in my case, failure is what I needed in order to prompt me to figure out, how does this actually work? And now create actual value that people consume and buy, as opposed to just thinking I could toss it out there. So even if you fail, it's still, you're hopefully still learning something valuable in the process, which I know sounds like something your mom would say to you that you would roll your eyes at, but I'm a dad. I have 7 kids. I can say that kind of stuff, but I really do think it's true though, too. So that's it. All right. So thanks for hanging out with us, everyone. Good to see you all again. Thank you, Dahlia, for moderating the live chat, the live stream with us, and for keeping all the questions in front of us. And we are looking forward to hanging out with you guys all again next week for another Video Creators Podcast episode. We'll see you guys then.